Welcome back to the Diamond Breakfast. Now, a new pensions reform law in Zambia allows eligible members of the National Pension Scheme Authority, NAPSA, to access up to 30% of their retirement benefits before retirement. Previously, members could only access 20% under earlier reforms. The amendment signed into law in 2026 aims to provide workers with greater financial flexibility by enabling them to invest, start businesses, purchase property, or meet major financial needs before retirement. The reform is intended to unlock capital, stimulate economic activity, and improve the wellness of contributors while maintaining retirement security through safeguards that protect the remaining pension benefits. We'll speak more on this with economist Mr. Kelvin Chisanga. Good morning and welcome to the Diamond Breakfast.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Good to have you. Let's start off with understanding the impact that this 30% pre-retirement withdrawal will have. What impact is it most likely to have on Zambia's economy?
Okay, so the beginning point is that we will be able to increase some liquidity management in the country or in the economy, which will be able to give more, latitude in terms of business activities for those that have actually innovative minds around what they're accessing. And again, with an aspect of financial inclusion, it's something that is going to help mitigate, financial constraints that they normally face, especially at a point when we are basically looking at, the strong agriculture and many other good stuff that are happening from there. So what I should be able to say that it can also stimulate economic activities in a sense, because obviously what we'll be able to see is that if people are spending this, money in some of the productive investment activities, it will be able to change the narrative in terms of, disposable income, in terms of job creation, and much more. Even when you look at the aspect to do with industrial activities, I think that puts a good number, even when we look at it from a tax point of view, because the more business you interplay, the more tax you also be able to be flexibly work out from there.
Now, stemming it more further to this, I think you talked about something in your preamble intro in terms of financial literacy. I think it's very key. So poor spending habits. I think obviously, even if you look at also the debt swap that we had previously, way back for civil servants who got loans, for example. Those are some of the factual facts that we can ride on to also predict the financial patterns that people usually navigate around with. I want to understand from your point of view in terms of stimulating entrepreneurship and job creation, which is key. You have these people who are working in formal employment. They have this opportunity to now withdraw 30% that they can divert into a business venture and whatnot. Are you seeing that working out for our Zambian market with the people that working in different areas, or because of not having this proper financial literacy interventions, could we have a lapse in terms of people just maybe spending their hard-earned money on things that they usually spend on the weekend?
You see, I think this lies in two forms of patterns. There are people that are quite productive in the sense of what they do, especially when it comes to tying an employment as well as a small job by the side. So we've seen some people who are civil servants and they're also running poultry houses, or they're doing chickens, they're doing small business here and there. So that also brings an aspect to breathe more fresh into their business in terms of trying to inject fresh capital. So that also basically brings an aspect of trying to balance up the equation in a sense, because right now the market is demanding for some of these things. And again, it's also an issue where somebody has to just be disciplined when we access your part of your retirement, meaning you are diminishing part of what you should have taken at the retirement package, meaning your retirement security is affected. So if you don't do a correct job, you basically have to suffer a consequence in a way. So you have to make sure that when you get a 30% or 20% accessibility to your financial package, meaning you'll be able to actually make an economic good in a way, because again, it also comes out to be a self-inflicting aspect, because if you access part of your retirement security, definitely you are disadvantaging if you don't use it wisely. So it's also important from that perspective as well. So what I should be able to say is that I think that even circumstances also can able to take you into the eventual kind of thinking to say, look, what I've accessed is something that has to also be a future financial stability of some sort in your case. So that's what I should be able to mention from there.
With that said, then, do you expect the policy to increase investment in sectors such as agriculture, real estate, and small businesses?
Definitely, though it takes a two-way factor here. If you look at it from the pension body point of view, like NAPSA and many others, they get the funds to help out with making investment returns. But if you tend to access that package of yours, it means you have to have a sound financial plan to make sure that whatever you're accessing must be productive, or you should tie it to something that will stand to a good test of time in terms of trying to make a return over it. If you basically make a premature expense, like you're getting that money for school fees. Of course, school fees in the long run, in some way it can work, but the best way is to work on long-term models like building a flat, or you're building maybe buying a farmland or something that can be of capital nature, that will be able to actually give you a quantifiable effect in the long run. But if you just focus on some of the short-term expenses in consumption, I think that becomes a challenge from that perspective.
Yeah. I want to write on what the president at one point said about having this opportunity. I mean, the kwacha now to $1.17, somewhere around there, and now you have also inflation at 6.6, for example. But he said something to say, so you have this opportunity. Don't and the kwacha performing well. Don't go and buy a BMW, for example. Buy a truck and go and farm, for example. And I'm looking at this 30% threshold that you can withdraw and use it for investment. For me, maybe the question would be, many people might not know investment opportunities maybe that are there on the market. I mean, it's a usual, if chicken business that you mentioned, for example, but there's a plethora of investment opportunity. Maybe we could speak into some of just, I know that probably on a different level we can speak about those, but maybe just hinting, maybe people don't really understand, where can they have such information, investment opportunity that they can pump in money?
Okay, so what it is this, obviously whatever is happening at that level of a framework where we are getting to see proper performance of kwacha and probably even the inflation anchoring within the expected policy corridor, and much more, even just when you look at the environment, vibrating with a number of good elements. These simultaneous actions of whatever is happening, it's giving birth to what we should be able to see in terms of where we should be able to see opportunities. Like, for example, I'll give you a very typical example of what basically happens in the regional market. Zambia's honey has a very important aspect to interplay. Others are making soap, others are making a lot of things that they can make from honey. So you can actually be able to get into this business and see how certain things can work out from there. Part of the ingredient aspect of maybe making some beverages, we are using cassava. Those are opportunities that are already standing there. So any missing opportunity that we don't see, I think that is where we need now to put a lot of effort, especially when you look at the opportunities that are being posed there. Any region, let's say, for example, you look at goat meat. People now hoping to see that they move away from eating beef, or maybe they supplement with goat meat. So those are opportunities that are there. So any challenge that we see, even on health side, could actually be given opportunity somewhere else. So what I'm trying to put across here is that opportunities are everywhere. Even when you look at where Zambia is positioned, Malawi, they could be facing challenges there. Malawi is just Chipata route. You get to Chipata, you are in Malawi already. There can be also some opportunity that you can actually be able to work out from there. So if somebody accesses some bit of money from NAPSA or wherever they are accessing, I think it's important to look at all these missing gaps. And even just look at the way we are, there could also be some opportunities within the NGO sector as well. So what I'm trying to put across here is that Zambia is a country that has got a lot of opportunities. Although it lacks with the poor capital formation, but this forms a basis of a capital. When you access something from pensions package, I think it's important to utilize it to the fullest capacity, so that even when you are thinking to say, I will still get 80%, you would have at least made some economic use of that access of 20% or 30%, meaning you can double that money. And at the end of it all, the good part is that new pension reforms have also got expansion of certain coverage where you can also be able to start doing some savings of some sort, and again you can also withdraw at some point. And again, the good part that is happening with the NAPSA is that when you do 180 months of contribution, which is translating to 15 years, you can basically get a lump sum of some sort and invest into your business. The challenge that we have in Zambia is that when a civil servant is working for 55 years or 60 years or even late 65, they don't seem to do business. They only want to do business when they are getting retired, which is a very bad case. You know, business should be able to start at a point when you are working. Even when you are working, you should have a side hustle. That's what should be able to happen from there. But the challenge that is there is that we don't want to do business. We want to do formal work with white collar and all that. At the end of it all, when you see life is becoming difficult, that's when you want to jump on business. Business should be started with the mind of you being in that office day one. Besides, you should also learn a small business. That's what should actually be able to make you, better on a better sounding or better footing from that perspective.
Yes. With that said, now, real quick, with what we're seeing here, for this reform to achieve its intended purpose, how important will financial literacy be?
You know, financial literacy, it's only maybe mistaken also in the concept of a bank championing financial literacy. But what I can tell you is that financial literacy is also coming from pensions, coming from insurance, coming from all circles of industry. But again, it's also important just to look at it from a perspective of how do you maximize what you are having in your hand. For example, if you have you are accessing your retirement security or part of your retirement security, you need first to think, first of all, what should I do to multiply this money? The mind should be multiplication every time, not where you start having consumption. And whatever you have in your hand should, first of all, you should assess to say, okay, I have this amount of money. What can I do to multiply it? And again, the aspect that we have is that we always want to remove the money without counting what we are remaining with. So the financial prudence is very important to actually undertake, even when it comes to salary. Salary does not come to just support your daily lives. Salary is a seed for your business, and that's what should actually be able to be seen from there. If you have a salary, let it be multiplied in business. That can actually be able to change the life of one person from there.
Okay. Well, Mr. Sanga, thank you so much for joining us on the
Thank you, my pleasure.
I was wondering before you close. I was wondering when you were laughing about the salaries. I said the economy is growing, salaries are not growing. That's what the complaint.
Salaries are stunted.
So I was like, what about investing?
They're stunted. I've been talking.
Anyway, next time I'll expand more. So
Yes, we'll invite you another time. We've been talking to economist Mr. Kelvin Sanga, just speaking to the lump sum pension law reforms that are aiming to unlock vital capital. Let's go on a break. When we get back, we have more as we get to wind down.